We're glad you are, always.
Thank you. And this is really taking me back to high school. Is it taking me back to high school?
A little bit, but you know, those decorations we just showed out front, they were putting up lights for a tree. You saw reindeer. You're wearing red. Christmas is upon us today, officially. Pete was
I'm
resisting
still
a
wearing
little bit
Thanksgiving
yesterday.
orange.
He is
I see
wearing
that.
I still have leftovers in the fridge.
Well, the leftovers will be gone soon, and we will be fully embracing the Christmas
will be
spirit. Good morning.
You got that,
To go.
Grinch?
I got that Grinch. I watched a Christmas movie last night with my kids.
Oh, God.
I did. I can't remember the name of it. It came out in 2018, but
That
Santa.
means he slept while
No,
he
no, no.
pretended to watch it with the kids.
It's the movie
I've
with
done that.
not Kirk Doug, somebody. Anyway, and he said, the kids are like, Santa, do you say ho, ho, ho? And he says, no, that's actually fake news.
Yeah.
It was made in 2018, and Santa says fake news. And my 3-year-old turned to me and goes, Dad, Santa just said fake news. Like, this is a different kind of Christmas movie.
Wow. You have to tell me the title of that one.
We'll figure it out.
Let me tell you, we have actual news. We have very serious news, and that is the situation on the border in San Diego, Tijuana. We have, of course, the president has been talking about it all this Thanksgiving weekend, and we have a tweet here that's new. We want to show you right away.
Two from yesterday.
It says,
Yep.
Migrants at the southern border will not be allowed into the United States until their claims are individually approved in court. We only will allow those who come into our country legally. Other than that, our very strong policy is catch and detain. No releasing into the U.S. All will stay in Mexico. If for any reason it becomes necessary, we will close our southern border. There is no way that the United States will, after decades of abuse, put up with this costly and dangerous situation anymore. What's significant is there are reports that a deal was struck between this administration and the incoming new Mexican government, the Obrador administration. He'll be inaugurated later this week on this coming Saturday, that they're going to have a new policy.
It's a little bit confusing, though, because they said we struck a deal. The Trump administration said that. And then somebody from the Mexican government said we don't have a deal, but we do have a policy for right now that they remain in Mexico. Either way, this policy is a big win for Donald Trump, because essentially it ends catch and release. And what catch and release means, if you come to our border, you say you have you're claiming asylum, you have a court date. Well, we have a backup. And so essentially we go, well, go away into our country. You can go
do your thing.
Do your thing, work. A lot of people get work illegally, whatever. Yeah. And then we said, come back later. Well, a lot of people don't end up coming back. I think only 2% do.
It's called, for now, remain in Mexico. So you can't stay in the country while you're waiting for your asylum claim. You wait in Mexico. The Mexican authorities didn't want to do this, but you look at a businessman who came in to make a deal, and you look at incentives. So he says, President Trump has threatened to close the border completely, all trade completely between these countries. He sent the military down to the border. He said, previously, I will scrap NAFTA. All this pressure has led Mexican leaders, an incoming president, to do what they've never wanted to do. They've always deemed this America's problem, not their problem.
Right.
Now it is their problem, too. And they're saying, OK, we'll give in. We'll hold the folks in Mexico, and then they can come in if their asylum claim is found to be valid, which is a lower percentage than those that try to do so illegally. And this matters, too, Griff, because this morning you've done some reporting.
This is about to get a huge test. This new policy was a solution, ideally, to the catch and release policy.
Right.
But today, I've just been in contact with one of the leaders of Pueblos Sin Fronteras, which is the group organizing this caravan. I was with them all the way in the Guatemala-Mexico border. They've been going all the way to Tijuana, and they tell me, confirming a report today, that they will march to the San Ysidro, San Diego port of entry and try and cross at 9 a.m. this morning. We don't know how many. We don't know what the Mexican officials are doing on that side. This is a fluid situation, but it is certainly going to be, this is the leaders telling me that they're going to march to that port of entry and try and cross illegally. They're saying that they are going to have signs made that say, open the gates now.
Right.
And they're making both a political statement, and they're going to test the will of both our Border Patrol and the Mexican officials.
This group is called Pueblos Sin Fronteras, which means a people without borders. Interesting, you talked about the Mexican government responding to some of the troops at the border, the threat of shutting down the border. But they're also looking at this and saying, maybe this isn't in our own interest to have endless caravans. Here's Michelle Malkin talking about just that.
The agreement is called Remain in Mexico. And obviously, Mexican government officials don't want to publicize it too much diplomatically. Right. But on the other hand, of course, they're getting so much pushback from their own citizens. Every sovereign nation has the right and prerogative to exercise their ability to make sure that they are able to tell who's able to come into their country and not. And the Mexican government officials have said that endless caravans are not in their interest, and they're not in the United States' interest either.
Rachel, that's what you just said. It's a great point. We've heard some independent reports that claim 20,000 will try to march through vehicle lanes at the border because applying for asylum is a waste of time. But I think more significant, Griff, I was there this morning as we were preparing for the show when you got the text from the leader, a guy you've met, a part of the caravan, saying we're meeting at the stadium at 9 o'clock Pacific time, 6 o'clock Eastern. Or no, excuse me, 12 o'clock Eastern, and we will be marching or walking peacefully to that port of entry. They say they want to do it on a Sunday, some report, not your text, but some reports say because it's a peaceful day, they want to come here illegally, but peacefully, potentially a showdown today at that border.
Here's the point, and this is what you'll watch for today, and that is this group is testing the agreement between the administration and Mexican officials and a new administration.
That's exactly
They're going to test it. They said, okay, we are going to come across peacefully and see what you do. And to your point, that will dictate future caravans coming in the people. Because remember, there are several thousand people in continuing caravans that are still yet on their way to Tijuana.
We've been waiting for that moment. We didn't know if that moment would happen. Today could be that moment when the caravan says we're going to test that very showdown. You've got new authorities that the military has to back up the Border Patrol at that location as well. A lot of eyes will be on the southern border this morning for sure. But also, politics always creep in on everything. I think there's a lot of folks on the other side of the aisle that have differences with the president's approach on the border. Many of them will be attempting to run for president, 20, 30, 40. How many Democrats will run? We don't know. Well, a few tweets caught our eye last night from the senator from Hawaii. His name is Brian Schatz. He took to Twitter and just gave a few thoughts to his friends on the left, and we thought a few of these tweets were interesting. He said a few thoughts on 2020, since all my friends appear to be running, which is good. First, no one should be trying to figure this all out before the voting starts. And second, he says, we must reject the premise that this fight is between moderates and progressives. We are going to nominate a progressive. There are 5 more in that tweet storm. He went on to say he's not running himself, but he made a very definitive comment, which a lot have alluded to it and suspected. It won't be a moderate that comes out of the Democratic Party. It will be a progressive and likely a far left.
Well, you see, even in the fight between Nancy Pelosi's speakership, the moderates are losing dismally. The progressives are winning. And I've always thought that, I mean, a lot of people mock Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I think the moment that she came out and proud as a socialist and caused the other members of the caucus that say they're going to run for, they're not an official caucus, but all the people that are running for president in 2020, all of them basically took their masks off and said, yep, we're there too. We've always known they were socialists. So I think what's really important here, and what this tweet that you pointed out, Pete, points to, is that 2020 is going to be an honest election between socialism and American capitalism. And I think that's a good thing for the American people, to have a real honest choice where people aren't masking what they really are about, but they're being honest. So I really hope they vote for a quote-unquote progressive, which actually means socialist, and that we can actually have a real debate as well.
Look, if the midterms told us anything, and we've been talking about it for months leading up to the midterms on this show, and that is that there are no blue dog Democrats, there are no conservative middle ground. The Democrat Party has moved to the left, and it's not just Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. There's scores of races that went to that area, and even areas of the country that have moved in that direction. So
you're totally right. And Rachel, to your point, no more code talk.
Yeah,
this will not be a code talk election. You talk about capitalism and socialism. If you're tired of the caravan talk on the border, you better stop being tired, because it's going to also be about borders and open borders.
Right.
That is where the left is. That is where their base is.
Globalism.
Globalism will be the definition of the debate, and that's why what the president's doing today on the border, new policies, a showdown, will reverberate and have implications in 2020. Let us know.
Yeah, send us friends@foxnews.com and tell us what you think. Do you miss
maybe
the
your
Blue Dog
preferred
Democrats?
candidate? Do you miss the blue dog Democrats, as Griff said? What do you think about 2020?
All right, and I'm going to